Top of the morning to all you farmers out there. It is yet another blustery, wintry day here out in Elm Creek. I am here driving around on the soon-to-be billion-dollar farm. We are on the quest for $1 billion in Farming Simulator 22. You can see the farm is coming along nicely. We still have our cotton on the field that we harvested this last year, and we are actually going to get some more planted today. February is the planting season for that cotton, and we will be putting it on a few of our fields. You can see our good old sheep here with their mountains of food. Everything is looking good. Last month in January, we had a very productive and exciting one. Had some of our biggest sales yet of silage and our bread back in December, and invested in a brand new passive production, the biogas plant over there. It has been pumping away from that silage that I fed it this last month, and we've been getting a ton of money from that. Speaking of which, right now, just looking over the biogas plant income since building it in January, and we are over $100,000 that it's produced just from that passive production. Now, it did cost $1.5 million, so we got a ways to pay that back, but hey man, if it makes $100K a month, that's not that long. That's a little over a year to fully pay for itself. And then after that, it is all gravy. But we got a decent amount of money in our pocket. Still have a bit of debt, as you can see from the financial page. Our loan is at $1.5 million, which, hey, that was over $2 million last month. So I attribute a lot of that to our sales. Look at all of that silage sale from the past few months. There is some bread in there too, but silage was the main one. And we have quite a lot of clothes that are coming out. We will be selling those in May, but as I mentioned, it is planting season for cotton, and that is what we are going to get up to today. Now, it is still a bit cold and icy on the ground, and I could wait for later in the day to get planting, but it seems like it would be kind of fun to start it now, if not a little ill-advised. We do have our Kins blue, as I always call it, the Kinsey blue, and I am just picking it up with the Vario. Oh man, it is so hard to drive around on this farm when it's covered in snow. I am slipping and sliding. Now, it does look like it needs some more seeds. It needs some more liquid fertilizer, so I'm going to fill up on those and get planting here. The fields I am going to cover in cotton, I think I'm just going to keep it the exact same as last year. So I am going to be planting this field to my right, the one past it, and then our big field over there, field 70. And just looking at the map, that's going to be 56, 57, and 70. That's what we planted with cotton last year, and it produced more than enough for our spinnery and tailoring shop. I'll definitely get that expanded one of these days, but for now I am just trying to keep up with the cotton that we're already producing before I upgrade those production chains any further. Now, one thing I actually did invest in, as you know, I leave my planter there that I was just filling up, I did invest in some passive income generators. The reason I'm driving up to my big boy field up here, literally the field I named Big Boy, I did put a radio tower over here. It wasn't crazy expensive, but it was probably one of the bigger generators that you can get. In addition to that, I did put down a cell phone antenna and a solar panel or two closer to field 70, but I maybe added like 3 or 4 generators, and I think I'm just going to start doing that when I have a bit of money in my pocket. Oh boy, I just crashed. Sliding. But yeah, when I have a bit of money in my pocket, I think I'm just gonna start buying some generators and just placing them around kind of on the corners of my farm, or maybe I'll even buy a plot of land that's kind of out of the way and just start absolutely covering it in solar panels. Eventually I'm going to just get to that point where I'm gonna have a lot of the map owned, so looking for a really cheap piece of land that's kind of on its own, that can't really be expanded any further, as in like plowed into another field, that's probably going to be what we're going to want to do. If I can't expand it out and make it into like a larger production, a larger yielding field, then it's probably better served providing a whole bunch of passive income every single month. That is something I kind of didn't focus on for a long time, was the passive income, but I am seeing how important it is. If I want to get all the way to $1 billion, man, I need to have it so I don't have to work for every single penny I earn. Now, just near about filled up up on the liquid fertilizer, but need to fill up on seeds. I think I'll probably just top it off at our little fill up station over here. It has been just a really handy little thing to have. I like buying from it quite a lot more than I like buying bag by bag from the store. It's going to come in handy a lot next month when I am planting all of my oats, and I am going to be using that air cart setup again. We have this planter right here for our cotton, and then I'm going to be using the air cart for our oats. Now, I do believe I can just pour this directly in there, but I could be wrong here. I do appear to be wrong. Probably would be helpful if I had some sort of an auger wagon set up just for a situation like this. I'm trying to see if no, it just doesn't appear to work. Well, that is all right. I can always just get a bag, although I think these are seeds, come to think of it. I dumped all the seeds this last year after using the air cart. I just had a whole bunch of extra spare seeds from it, and I was returning the lease because I didn't want to buy that one in specific. I got a slightly different, very similar model picked out, but has a slightly higher capacity and everything. So anywho, we are looking nice and filled up here. I think we could just go ahead and get planting started. As I said, it's just going to be a quick little 3-field plantaroo. So I will get this unfolded and unloaded here and get planting. So the great plant has begun here. I wanted to make sure I got the whole field, which I do appear to be. It's a little harder to tell because of the snow, but that little outskirt area is like a field, you know, edge rather than the actual field itself. It's funny watching this go from snowy ground right into cultivated and fertilized soil. It's just so wrong looking, but it looks pretty cool. So I'm just gonna do a little bit of a headland pass here, the usual setup. I'm so used to operating this planter with the tank tractor that I just instinctively, you know, never raise it up when I'm turning, but then I realized the Fendt does not have that problem whatsoever, so I can do that all I want. Just making sure we cover everything, since this implement moves so fast, this planter. 14 miles per hour down the field. It's really nice in that way, but man, if you're not lined up right, it can mess things up very, very quickly. Went off course a little bit, but I guess that's better than missing things on the field. So funny unveiling things from the snow via planter. Direct drill straight through the snow, but I like it. It's a little bit of a change of pace for us. It's different than how things normally look, although I guess this last month was also snowy. It is a cold December in Elm Creek, I suppose. If not cold, then at least very, very snowy. But getting that headland pass done, that's the first step, man. That is the first step. And just double checking, and yeah, we are fertilizing that very well. It is so nice to have a planter that can plant, that can fertilize, and can direct drill all at the same time. I don't know if I'm ever going to be able to go back to not having that. Farm's really coming together. It looks so good covered in that snow. I do love me some Elm Creek, man. Everything has been coming together very nicely for the Billionaire farm. I am very pleased with our progress. Still quite a bit in debt, obviously, but with that biogas plant, with some of that passive income throughout the year, in addition to our already huge sales, I think we are just going to be skyrocketing our monthly earnings. The generators in general have been something people have commented on a lot, and I don't really blame them for that. I have been a little bit lacking in using them, but putting down a few more of those solar panels, radio towers, that sort of thing, I think that is going to be getting us a lot of money. Once I have a bit more spare cash, especially after I buy some of the other things I've been meaning to buy, like some new tractors, maybe fully buying those new harvesters and air cart and stuff. Once I get those things bought, I could start investing in the really high-end generators too. I'm talking the ones that cost, you know, $1, $2, $3 million. I suppose I basically did just buy that with the biogas plant. With how much silage we have been making, it would be really stupid to put off the biogas any further than I already did. can see these two trailers up here are one of the investments from last month, and I'm very happy about those. That's something small that I felt like needed to be upgraded for quite a long time. There's going to be a lot of little things like that that I should probably invest in. Things I should move on from that have just been kind of sitting around. I'm looking at things like these silos here, maybe the beehive and the chicken coop. I do like how they make my farm look. Nice little homestead and everything like that, but they are beyond useless for actually what I'm doing for making money these days. From a bygone era, early on into Broke to Billionaire. I appreciate the things that got me to this point, but it doesn't mean I have to keep using them forever when they, don't really fit into my plans anymore. Now that thing over there is an absolute gem. It has been producing a ton of silage. Now I still do have silage on auto sell this month. It's pretty much the same price as it was last month, so I figure we might as well just keep selling it, right? Just right as it produces. It's gonna help not fill up that production point, which has happened quite a few times already. I will just end up running out of space and having to sell a little bit early, which is, less than optimal if you can avoid it. Silage is one of those products that doesn't really vary that much throughout the year in terms of its pricing, so it's not that big of a deal to sell it, in like July or something. But at the same time, if you can avoid it by, selling like right now, selling the last month or two's production worth of it in February, where it's still near the peak price, is better than selling, 2.5 million liters of it in the middle of July. It's honestly probably due for another upgrade, especially if I get another field. It's funny because I will make these splash purchases just like the biogas, and think, wow, I'm gonna have to cut back and scrimp and save to make up for this giant purchase I just made. Then I start going through the year and it's like, man, I make a lot of money. With the biogas plant especially, I'll have to see what that earns every single year. I don't know if it's a consistent amount every single month. I think it is, because it's just like a regular production point, right? It has an input and output that remains steady. All I know is it turns a really good profit once you get it going, and that's all I really care about. I'll have to see how much it makes at the end of this month, though. That will be a very good test case. Planting with snow on the ground. So funny. I do love how the field looks in contrast to, kind of the world around it. I don't think this is something you would want to do in real life. You definitely would want the ground to be cleared of snow at the very least. But come on, man, it looks cool. So who cares? We're very nearly done with this field already on the second to last pass, I believe. Can't sing the praises about this planter enough. The only downside is the capacity is a little low. I dislike having to fill it up so often, especially since apparently I can't use those fill-up stations. But yeah, I think the capacity is the only downside on this guy. This is a modded planter. It's a modded version of an in-game planter that I enjoy a lot. It does have some... Oh, by the way, we just finished, Yahoo. But this planter, it does have some more unrealistic options. I'd consider doing that. I don't think it breaks it that often to just have to fill up less. It just makes it a little less annoying for me. I'll see how I'm feeling about things, but I can tell you right now, I'm already getting a little annoyed being this low on fertilizer and seed. I think I'm just going to keep driving through our little winter wonderland here, get the other two fields planted with this cotton. Not too much else going on in February of year 9. I do believe it's going to turn over to year 10 in March, which is just absolutely crazy. But yeah, I think I will be seeing you guys just a little bit later once these are looking more planted. So here we are a little further in the day. You can see got two fields planted here. Was just working on field 70 off in the distance. I was running a little low on liquid fertilizer and decided to just go grab some more. I did figure out how to use this little fill-up station. You actually have to pop the covers off itself. You can see we got $2,000 worth of seeds, and then we can fill up on the fertilizer too for another 2,000, and it's easy peasy. That is way better than using 1,000 bags at the store up there. Now, the one other thing you might notice is I have precision precision farming enabled. I decided to enable it pretty much while I was in the middle of this last field here. I think it's going to come more into effect in year 10 next month with all of our planting, but I enabled it. This is my first time really using it. I did a tiny bit of research on how it works, but not too much. I'm sure there's plenty that I don't really understand or get how it all works, but it does seem pretty cool. Especially it adds some new metrics for tracking the yield from your different fields and how much you're making versus how much you're putting in. I haven't taken samples or paid for samples on any field yet. I literally just enabled it, so I think what I'm gonna do is use some of this money I have in my pocket, which this is not what I had planned for it at all, but it's coming in useful. I think I'm going to use some of that money and I'm just gonna buy soil sample information for all of my fields. So maybe I'll just pull off and do that real quick. So it's this handy little page. I mean, I was clicked in on this guy. You can see it already has a few things listed here that it's been tracking. It doesn't have any soil information for this field because it doesn't have any samples. So what I can do is I can either take them myself or just purchase it. I think what I'm going to do, since I have so many fields, is I'm just going to purchase a bunch of the information. It does cost a bit of money, especially for a field like this. You can see it's going to cost 14,000 because they had to take 84 samples. But at the same time, it's a lot better than driving out to that field and taking 84 samples myself. Yeah, I mean, I'm just going to buy it literally for every single field. You can see now I know the soil type and the pH balance we want, nitrogen, all that goodness. There's also a variable seed rate and fertilizer rate, so it doesn't just use the default amount. And I like that quite a bit. But yeah, I'm just going to go around and buy it. That's another 8,000. I have heard even if you have a quote-unquote bad field, like bad composition, you can actually still get a higher yield than you would have not using precision farming. So it's definitely a little bit of extra work to manage, but it seems like your hard work gets paid off, which I like the idea of. Now, I do believe that should be all of our fields. You can see the soil compositions, and it doesn't maybe make that much sense. Basically, what this means is each one of these has a different optimal value for both the pH and nitrogen. You affect those with your fertilizer and your lime. So it just kind of replaces that system and also makes it so you can sometimes do more optimal amount of fertilizing and seeding. So it's like a variable seed rate. It isn't available for cotton, but it will be for oat. So I'll be able to use it for that. In the top left, what it's doing is it has where my current nitrogen value is and then where like the optimal one is. I don't exactly understand. I'm pretty sure it just goes down after you harvest. So it might be kind of weird this first year, but I think it'll all balance out to getting us much better yield in the future. And I think it is also just pretty cool. I like having more information available to me. But as you can see, just a couple more passes here. We have the soil information, so that might affect our application rate for the liquid fertilizer, aka like liquid nitrogen. Now, I'm a little off. I had my GPS going, but it doesn't seem to like the angle very much, but that's all right. I'll just ride this out. It looks like what we're doing is we're not actually using the fertilizer, which is very interesting. Because our nitrogen level is too high, you can see that red line is past the flag. We're not applying fertilizer because we don't want to increase the nitrogen level, which is interesting because before I was doing this, it was said it was only half fertilized. So you can see those like kind of minor differences there. It's going to be pretty interesting planting all that oat tomorrow. You know, this is maybe a little less interesting because I turned it on like halfway through planting. I kind of just got struck by inspiration to turn it on. It's something I've always kind of wanted to play around with. With this kind of being the end game for FS22, at least as like, you know, the most current game in the series, I just wanted to go ahead and turn it on. I didn't even realize it was a free DLC, so it seems pretty cool to me. I haven't used all the ins and outs. I'm sure there's some areas where maybe it's like less than optimal. It seems like a lot of fun to me, so I would encourage you to give it a try. You might as well. It is free. At least it was free on my platform. I play on PC. Yeah, it's a fun one. It's already interesting to see how it varies the fertilizer we're using rather than just having it on all all the time. I mean, I like that a lot already. It seems very cool. The fact that we're getting closer to that flag without actually using any fertilizer or anything is fine by me too, because that's more savings, man. Right here, that's the breakdown for the field so far. You can see it's calculating the seeds, how much the soil sample cost, and I guess I used a little bit of liquid fertilizer before I purchased the soil sample. Now, this one is not going to be super accurate because I obviously turned it on like halfway through the process, but that should be very, very interesting to see for our oat. Seems like most of our fields are okay. Some of them are maybe slightly worse yield expected than I'd like right now, but that should change once I get everything planted. This is the last of our February planting as well. I'm keeping it to just 3 fields of cotton this year. Seeing how much we made last year compared to what we can, produce, I would definitely like to increase it though. It earns a lot of money and it will be interesting to have these metrics calculated for me. Obviously I could have sat down, added everything up, seen what the costs were of this and that, but I'm lazy. It was a pretty funny day planting in the snow. Definitely unintentional. Kind of just happened, I mean, it's 10 a.m. now. It's still snowy. I don't think it's going to go away today, but I guess we'll have to see, huh? I used to be a little bit more paranoid about doing this with the liquid fertilizer specifically, because if we didn't actually apply it to the field, like we didn't bring up the fertilizer level, it still would use the liquid fertilizer, which was very annoying. So I'm happy it does that at the very least. It's already a nice quality of life for me. We obviously just have this little strip here. We will be planting this guy over here next month with all that oat. This planter can technically be used for oat as well, but I will be getting the air cart for the oat. And that's probably going to be a long-term purchase, man, because it plants both grass and oat, and that is just our whole deal right now. We did spend about 50 to 100K from all those soil samples, but I think in the long run, it is going to end up netting us a lot of money. This can really increase the yield. I think you can get it all the way up to about 25%. Which feels kind of crazy. It's nice to see that constant stream of cash from things like our radio tower that you can just barely see against the backdrop. Oh, I did mean to show it off at field 70 over there, but we did put a solar panel down and just a little cell phone antenna. That thing was only like $1,000 though. It's not that big of a deal. Whereas I think the radio tower over there was like 100K or something. So I did drop a decent amount. I probably dropped like $200,000 to $300,000 on that. But at the same time, it was pretty much just me putting down various generators just around the field. So it wasn't particularly exciting or anything. I'll probably do some more. Man, I really like how the snow looks and everything, but it is a pain to drive in, at least in this game. I wanted to check in on our silage. We are very slowly filling up with digest date. And it's funny, we're actually starting to run a little low on our silage. I still have the silage on auto sell, as I said earlier, just because it's, it's a good month for selling that still, but I should probably just swap it over to distributing since we need to fill that back up. I definitely don't want the biogas to run out or anything like that, and I get the feeling it's gonna. Bread looking good. It's still getting backed up on flour a little bit, unfortunately. I suppose I could just, give it a little love. Why not, man? We're this far in. Upgrade it again. I don't want that flour backing up. Maybe a little bit of a money pit, but yeah, whatever. We got that money and it's only 75K. Now, I did want to take a look here. These didn't get recorded for anything but the soil sample, just because of when I turned that on. Now you can see they do have expected yield potential above 100%, which is really nice. You can see it's a good mix of everything. I'm still getting the lay of the land, but I do think that just near about does it for February. I'm just gonna get right into March, man. We got some more planting to do. Nice early morning here in March. I just wanted to see that beautiful, beautiful sunrise there, man. Make sure to not drive on the crops, but you can see our cotton starting to sprout up. Beautiful morning in Elm Creek. It is still chilly out here at 31 degrees, but the snow has melted finally, so I can drive around in peace. I was just checking things out, and look at that biogas income. Just for the month of February, about $115,000. if it produces at this same rate every single month, or, you know, basically makes this around the same amount of income, it'll take about a year to pay off, which really is not too bad. Adding something that's going to be making, you know, 1.5 mil a year or so is going to be really big. Oh, the one other thing is property income. We did make about 30K last month from that, so that's pretty awesome. But yeah, it is planting season for oat, so I am going to do the honors of getting a nice air cart situation leased out and probably purchased down the line. So just looking over all the different air carts, and you know, this John Deere C850 and P576 air hoe drill and air cart, it is a really nice little setup here, very similar to the Borgalt one I used last time, but you gotta love the Deere, man. You gotta love the Deere. I think I'm gonna give it a whirl, see if it works out any better. It does have a really big capacity. The only downside here is that it does require 520 horsepower to run, but it has a 23 meter work width, and it does go up to 16 miles per hour, which is really fast. And if you take a look at our tractor here, obviously the tank tractor is like way underpowered for this. And the Fendt, while it does have a lot of horsepower, it is just like slightly under that. I think the time may have come to replace some dearly beloved old friends. I'm of course talking about these two bad boys right here. Oh man, this is gonna be sad, man. There's just something about driving this over here that is so sad. The good old tank tractor, man. It started from day one. This was the first thing I bought. I bought this, I think, before the field. Actually, you know what? I bought the field and then bought this right after, but it was pretty much the same time. That was just in year 1 or year 2 of the challenge, and it's been with me ever since. It is definitely a sad day. I am nostalgic for this thing. I had never used a tractor that used the track wheels on the back there. It was really cool. I wanted to use it. That's why I called it the tank tractor. Even though there are ones that use the track maybe a little more effectively than this guy. I don't know if I have it in me to sell this thing, man. I was gonna repair it and get it sold, but I might just be driving it back. I gotta at least start with the others. I'm not nearly as nostalgic for the Massey Ferguson. Now they've done their job and everything like that, but we've just gotten to the point on this here ranch where it just ain't gonna cut it. Now this thing is not gonna be worth very much money at all. It is very old. In fact, why don't we go ahead and just take a look at some of these? Let's what's our oldest? Oh yeah, the tank tractor at 116 months. And working hours, yeah, I mean, when I bought the Dutzfar, it had a ton of working hours on it. That's why it was so cheap. I'm gonna get the Massey Ferguson repaired up and get it sent on out to greener pastures, brother. I bid thee farewell, Massey Ferguson. You treated us well. You were a used vehicle. I didn't have high expectations. You were the first one with a front loader that I admittedly have not used in a very long time. But farewell, old friend. It's only worth $16,000 too. Whew. All right, that's one. So look at this bad boy. It is a case. Very nice one. You can see it has 723 horsepower. Now I could go with a nice red. I did put one of these Pro Compact on here. It detects the real nitrogen demand of your crops. You know what? I'll do it because it is running the, it is going to be running some planters that can do that sort of thing. I don't know, I like the red, I think, a bit more than the black. So let's go with red. And this is the case color here. It is looking good to me, brother. We'll get that bad boy leased out. So that's gonna be 20K right there, but whoo, look at this bad boy. I did get some slightly bigger tires with weights on them. It's gonna be running some pretty heavy implements, so that's gonna come in very handy. Back to the air cart, I'm just gonna go ahead and get these leased out. It's 10,000 for the day for you, and another 8,000 for the day for you. Ooh, but look at all of this. You can see it is a heavy duty setup. Very similar to the one we were just using this last time, which was what, the Borgalt. Gotta admit, I do like a nice John Deere, so happy to be using this. We obviously have the big boy up here in our rotation of oat and grass. It's growing grass right now, but that will be changing shortly. Let's see if I can take just the air cart down to the fill-up station, because that would be pretty handy to do. Oh, I'm gonna run right into it. It's all leased equipment. Don't worry, you don't need to worry about it. I honestly probably should just add more fill-up stations to around the map. They weren't too expensive, and I still get charged for everything that I get out of it. Like, it's not free or anything. There is a little bit of a discount for buying in bulk, but it's nothing crazy. I think maybe like 20%, something like that. Now, I do have a bit of fertilizer still on the ground there, but I don't think it's gonna beat the convenience of just filling it up right here, because this is a big tank. It is filling up. It has a really big capacity. We are going to want to fill it up all the way. This is going to be a bit of money. I mean, I'm seeing it drain up there. Oh, $30,000 worth of seed is crazy. So it's going to fill up on just an absolutely ridiculous amount as well. $50,000. That's crazy. But you know what? We're going to be able to hit all of the fields without filling this thing up again. Still a beautiful morning. The sun's a little bit higher. Oh man, I sent that guy's mailbox flying. That's all right. And look at this thing flying down the road. You gotta love a tractor with a ton of horsepower. So it is powerful enough to take a cart with this much seed and fertilizer in it and also drive at 40 miles per hour. That is just awesome. Now, the one downside of these really big, wide setups like I have right here is just maneuvering them around the field, especially in tight corners and stuff like that, is going to be kind of a pain. But, you know, it'll be all right. We'll figure it all out. We're going fast on these straightaways. It takes a little bit to speed up, but we're getting up to that max speed of 16%. In the top left, you can see that variable seed rate is kind of going all over the place, but that's good. You want it to go around because there's going to be times when it actually goes down, so you use less seeds, but then on some parts you end up using more seeds. Now here's where it's gonna get tricky. Remember how I called myself professional backer upper? Yeah, just don't pay attention to what's happening on your screen right now. We do not need to talk about it. Okay, I think I'm just gonna have to swing it around. I need to not back these things up. So the corners can be a little tough, especially on this headland pass, but I got to admit, this is just absolutely beautiful once you're in the straightaways. It's so fast, it has a huge working width, and it's just a lot of fun. I love using really big machinery like this. Have to admit, it's some of my favorite stuff in the game. Now, right here is that radio tower I mentioned earlier. Got that bad boy put in the ground. Might end up taking some of these trees out in the long term just to make lining things up a bit easier. I do like how it all looks, so I try not to take trees down. When I'm using something this size, I need every bit of help I can get. But hey, this feels like a good time as any to just knock this field out. Maybe get us one of those little time lapses. You can let me know if you enjoy these type of things. They're pretty fun to do, honestly. I like doing them, editing them together and picking the music and everything. So let me know what you think. I'll get this planted and you can ride along with me, man. Have yourself a good time, because you know I am. right, well, I hope you enjoyed the good old time lapse there. That is Elm Creek's biggest field. Only ran into one tree, you know. It's really once you get the headland pass taken care of, it all becomes a whole lot easier with these big pieces of equipment. In terms of our other fields, I can get this guy on down to the spike. That's another just huge field that we'll be able to take care of. Might even get the good old Kinsey Blue started on the smaller fields, being Oil Can and Sheep Alley. And you know, something I have talked about for a while, I've been doing the contract for Leroy for so long on Field 71, it might just be time to introduce it into the fold. So I don't know, it's only 510,000 as I completely block all traffic as is tradition. It is another very big field to maintain, but that would kind of allow me to get the last gigantic field that is on Elm Creek naturally without plowing something together. So I'm thinking that it might just be a really good idea to get the last piece of Exodia and get this guy bought right here, he says as he starts taking out money. Debt, debt, debt. Debt is so fun. All right, we are at $2 million in debt once again, which is where I was right before I bought the biogas. But yeah, here we go, man. I think it's time. We can get this whole little area, kind of hook it back up to our farm here, connects the two. And we're buying Leroy out. I think this might be his only field. So thank you for the discount, Leroy, for doing all those contracts. I've done so many. Yeah, let's make it. It is ours. It's gonna be one I think I'm just gonna put it into the rotation with oat, but for right now it is gonna be very nice to just have a huge splash field to get in on the goodness here. Now we are just barely clearing that. Oh, it's just a beautiful thing to be flying down these fields in the air cart, man. It's a beautiful day to be planting out here, to be running these giant implements. And it is also a beautiful day to subscribe to the channel and like the video if you enjoyed it. I'll be making a lot more of these videos, a lot more Broke to Billionaire to come, and obviously content in FS22 on the way as well. I appreciate y'all watching, and I hope you have a good one. Hope to see you in the next one. Farewell for now.